Well, here's my LG front load clothes washer. It's been the star in some of my videos. It's getting a few years on it, so it's starting to require a little bit of maintenance. The wife was complaining that some cycles didn't have rinse water, so let's take a look at it. As always, safety first. Obviously, I'm going to be taking the solenoids apart, so I want to make sure I don't have water flying everywhere. And the next step, of course, well, the whole purpose of this exercise is the wife said some cycles were not getting any rinse water. Every portion of the cycle except for the rinse water seemed to be working fine. So, first out of the box, I'm not going to bother to show you all this, but I went in and took this out, plugged and unplugged all the connectors inside the box, and then made sure everything was put all back together like it was, just to make sure I didn't have a loose connection someplace. Then did the same thing up front, pulled the front panel off, disconnected and reconnected all this. The reason I'm suspicious of the solenoids is that several years ago we had a hot water heater fail. It was extremely rusty on the inside, as well as it had a lot of calcium built up on the bottom of it. So I frequently have to clean the inlet solenoid screen for the hot water solenoid. While I haven't had to clean the inlet screen for the cold water solenoid, I feel certain that there would be some material left over from the city water that might impact this screen or might be able to get through it and deposit on the working surfaces of the solenoids. So I'm going to take them apart and check them thoroughly and clean them up to make sure that they're in proper working order and very clean. While it would be unusual that a solenoid would not come on due to debris being in the solenoid, it is very, very common that a solenoid will leak slightly or will not turn off all the time and tend to be intermittent, allowing some water to leak through. The vast majority of the times when you have solenoid issues, this will be the case. Mine may or may not be a special case in the fact that one of these cold water solenoids is not turning on all the time. Well, first thing I'm going to do is make sure this hasn't burned up the solenoid. This is the hot water. I'm going to go ahead and check it as well as all the others to make sure they look good. About 1.1 K. I'll check all the others if they show about the same, and I know it's not a burned up coil. And my experience tells me anytime I start messing with water issues and solenoids, it's usually inside the solenoid. Here's the solenoid packs. This is the hot water. These three are cold water. The singles have 4 screws. This dual has 6. Biggest problem, of course, taking the tops of these things off is not dropping a screw back in there and having to go fish for it down the bottom of the washer. When you have all the screws out, you want to be real careful about taking these apart. Pulling the solenoid coil itself off by pulling it straight up. Set it off to the side. And you want to be real careful about pulling this piece off because there's a spring-loaded plunger in there. That's the complete solenoid. Well, here's a shot of the 3 cold water solenoids. And as you can see, a lot of trash has managed to find its way past the inlet screen. So I got to clean all that up. That definitely be part of my problem. Here's the hot water, completely clean, no trash. I was amazed. Only the 3 cold water solenoids needed cleaning. They definitely had some trash in them. As you can see here, the hot water solenoid is completely clean. No trash. When you're working on them, don't forget it's a 3-piece assembly with the cap, the spring, and the plunger assembly. When you're pulling these out, make sure you don't accidentally drop the spring and lose this spring. Here's an interior shot of the disassembled solenoids. The one on the top of your screen, I've already cleaned this one. These 2 have not been cleaned. You can clearly see the real soft rubber that's kind of starting to I guess you'd say, flake off. It's really kind of real slimy, but this will not let the solenoid seat properly. So you definitely have to clean this rubber off of here. Eventually, of course, these solenoids will have to be replaced, but so far they look like they're cleaning up pretty good. Here's a shot of some of the trash that was coming off, both of the tips and on the back side of these. Looks like that could have been more than enough to plug up the little orifice and prevent the solenoid from opening up. The holes that are in these things are extremely small. Here's a shot of those same 3 solenoid tips after I've cleaned all the loose rubber off. This should definitely make the seat work a whole lot better. These are all normally closed solenoids. They didn't leak, but one sure didn't want to open. When you're putting them back together, this plate goes in like that. Be real careful with a spring-loaded plunger again. Now we're ready for the solenoid coils. And as you can see, sometimes that spring wants to dislodge this. So let's be real careful putting the solenoid coil back on top of that. I don't break or chip that lip. Okay, I put all the screws back in, tightened everything back up, so I'm just going to go ahead and plug everything back up now. Hard to switch the wires the way they did the wire looms. That's usually not going to be a problem. Now I'll go ahead and run a test wash and make sure I've got rinse water. Well, I put it all back together and ran several test cycles, and all the solenoids are working very nicely. They're very, very positive in their action. They pop on and pop off very quickly. You can hear the water shut off almost instantaneously whenever they actuate. So they're definitely working better than they were before. Since I've rebuilt the solenoids, I'm real happy with the way they work right now. It was definitely worth it. I've had several of you tell me that I sound like Elvis, so thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Check back often. I got lots more coming. Take care, man. Be good.